Good morning. My name is George Lees, and because I'm accused in Jedburgh Sheriff Court of being work shy sometimes, I've decided to set up a new business. So today I'm going to talk about the really dangerous thing that is royal marriages, and the beheading of the victims in the royal marriages, and the name of the woman, the name of the Celtic player that I could not remember, is associated with the beheading of Mary Queen of Scots. That's Fallon. So the whole of the Celtic team are in the geopolitical frauds, and they're far too old to get the kind of women that I'm going to offer to you today. Okay, there's one of them on the screen today. That's Lady Kinvara. That's Lady Kinvara Balfour, who's married to the Dukes of Norfolk, who are the people that are connected to the beheading dynasty that was Longshanks, and all the things that they did to William Wallace. I can tell you about in greater detail, because before I started this video I've now opened the tabs. So, online dating in the first part of the video, and we'll get on to the massive sectarian violence that consumes the world, because I've uploaded the tabs that the Quislings would not let me upload yesterday. Okay? And in the background you can hear my quest looking for the love supreme, and the thing that could happen, that people are allowed to be in a marriage for the whole of their lives. Even the ABBA lifetime is a joke about that. The whole thing is for chaos, so that no competency can emerge from any society on the globe, and that is what our politicians now work for. Chaos and violence and lies in the press, linked to the Dukes of Norfolk. I found the Balfours on the business register. Max Hastings, the man who comes and fishes the Tweed and lives in the coldest joke that is the Ednam House Hotel, changed hands several times since it was taken over by the Schloss dynasty in Germany, and then was in the hands of the receivership when the Brookses, the Innsbruck joke, sold it to the current owner, who's a Jaddy. Right then. And it's a lovely tune, but I dare not play it close up. This is the one with the Formula 1 drivers in it. And those are my pants, but I cannot tell you much about that, because that is the Pizzo joke about the Pantheras and the Black Panthers in the Warner Brothers hometown. Right then, so online dating. Yesterday I sent an email to the people at Arundel Castle, who run real estate empires like most of the other dukes and duchesses. This is the tragic tale of how the laws of succession have done down these legitimate claimants. Okay, let me read their headlines. Teedle-deedle-dee-tee-tee, teedle-deedle-dee-tee-tee. And this is the same video that I made on the tragic killing of the Protestant woman who was Lady Jane Grey, the Catholic woman who was Mary Queen of Scots, and the other woman, I don't forget what the denomination was, that was Anne Boleyn. And there are all the other victims: Anne of Cleves, Jane Seymour, Catherine Howard, Catherine Parr, and the one who was last was Catherine Parr, and she employed Lady Jane Grey. And the whole thing is a total twisted stitch up. Okay, like Liam Neeson, that's the joke about Schindler's List. Look at him. They can fake it up like anybody. And the Queen can be played by any of the actresses that plays Victoria or Queen Elizabeth in all of the films that have been made. Yeah, and that's Liam Neeson, who's married, I think, to Queenie, who died on the ski slopes. And the man who I could not remember on the ski slopes in this fascist, vicious wealth divide team was Schumacher, the son of the shoemaker joke. Yeah, that's the Innsbruck jokes about Archbishop Hudel and the Nazi laundering. Okay, and they've got the loyalist medias in the world, which is why the last man to be executed for treason was Eric Joyce. Yeah, and there just happened to be a Falkirk citizen in the queue at Lord Sainsbury's supermarket last night to tell me that Eric Joyce has now been elected out of the Parliament building, where he's a cover for British treason, and runs a munitions business from Falkirk, which is the only contact details you can find for him. And he used to be a tank commander in Iraq. Okay, so this is about the Duke of Norfolk. That is the family that I showed you yesterday, and I'll show you again now. This is their bloodline from Longshanks. Yeah, so I can find you partners of the highest legend if you just give me a call and tell me that you're prepared to tell the truth. Yeah, because it's very important, if you want an innocent partner, that you tell the truth about your role in life. Which is why I'm going to take you to the Duke of Norfolk's territory near the Sussex County Cricket Club, where my wife used to score. Yeah, and Imran Khan is now running for president in partitioned Pakistan, where you can kill people with no declaration of war now, and the Yanks frequently do that in the name of Homeland Security and the Christian nation that is America and the YMCA. Right then, so I'm wasting a lot of time as usual. Let me show you the really sexy women that are the Norfolk bloodline, and they openly declare their intent on Facebook. So they're whinging in this bloodline about injustices to women, when I've shown you yesterday they're women having their heads lopped off for centuries just because they get in the way of the power base. Okay, and just because of the Reformation concept that Christianity was designed to kill all of its worshippers, no matter which denomination they were planted into, and that is the major cause of death in every global conflict. Okay, so the Balfours interlock to the man who I was looking for on the company registered yesterday, like Max Hastings does, and like several people do in the area of, it was not fine arts this time, it was something to do with the museum sector, but there's nothing terribly scandalous about the business register for all of those people that I looked at under his nibs. There it is there, Duke of Norfolk. I forget his name and all the names that are intertwined. Yeah, but as we closed yesterday, we revealed John Stapleton, David Frost, and Michael Ancram and his family as the Marquesses of Lothian, being tied into these dynasties. Okay, I can close that email tab now, and I can close my downloads tab, and what we've got yesterday is the email message that I sent to the people at Arundel. You should see the Arundel Castle. Let's see if I can find that for you now. It's just amazing. Okay, so there we've got castles aren't just for boys. So Lady Kinvara Balfour is the granddaughter of the 17th Duke of Norfolk. Her mother, Lady Tessa, was the late Duke's eldest child, born in 1950. After the 17th Duke died, title and seat at Arundel passed to son Edward. That's Longshanks' name. Lady Kinvara said title and property should have passed to her mother. Yeah? You can see what her motives might be, and she's prepared to sell herself, one assumes, based on the gesture below the headline. Lovely. Really lovely. A bit like the Scottish colours that Archie Roseberry's team had to wear at Hampden Park, yet just to show that these people still own everything that the ordinary people are diverted by. Okay, so here's the Arundel Castle, and it's a listed building, and it must be a massive list because it is huge. Absolutely huge. And that's the place where I sent my email or my intranet message to them yesterday to let them know that I'm onto every scam they have run since Longshanks was breathing and listening to the execution of Willie Wallace, not the one in the Celtic team, right next door. Yeah, right next door to the execution in the Tower of Scotland's greatest legend. Yeah, and his women get their throat cut, and that is an abuse of the relationship between Scotland and England. She got her throat cut because they would not allow her to be raped on the first night of her marriage. And William Wallace can speak Greek and Latin and French, and the whole thing is a joke about the elites taking the Piso for the whole of world history. Yeah, look at the size of that place. And it's just the same when you look at Alnwick Castle from the front. Looks just like that. I've never been able to visit Alnwick Castle because it's too expensive to get in there, and their joke is massive. Yeah. But all of the people that have been actors in the J.K. Rowling output, and they have died really young, and Marcus Aurelius knew that that was coming to him if he kept laughing at British history this way. Yeah, that is Richard Harris, the Aryan joke that keeps popping up. Okay, let me show you some of the Duchess of Norfolk's women with their legs akimbo, looking for new partners who are not going to lop their head off and are going to give them the inheritance of the vast tracts of land that they have stolen, even from the papacy. Yeah, and the papacy have stolen all of it from the common man since the Doomsday Book was written, and that is the Frodo joke. That's the French Bishop Odo. Yeah, in the period after 1066, when all of the massive religious institutions were built by the Benedictines from France, as they were coming out of the Cluny Abbey across the Channel into Hastings, which takes you to this map. Yeah, this is who I wrote to yesterday. Everything they do is a historic fraud that blights the global economy now. Okay, so this is where they trade from. There is Arundel, and you can get twin poster beds if you spend the night at their holiday towns. Yeah, there's where Mrs. Thatcher was blown up, and John Patterson is in Seaford, which I believe may be slightly further to the right. All of the policemen there, like the Isle of Man and the Channel Islands, wear white helmets, because this is the epicentre for royal fraud for century after century. Yeah, which is why Bognor Regis is a joke about the king. Reggie in the Monty Python comedies. Yeah, Chichester, global yachtsman, yet sail out of there, and all of the national parks all around, which are on the line through to Brie, where the hole in the Maginot Line is, and is right next door to Tavistock, and is right next door to Portendown, where some of my local people and some of the intensive care friends I have were called into that place, because it was the only place that could get funds for scientific research, because we were at that time brutalising Iraq, and they were only interested in blast injury and how you could profit from that in private medicine. Okay, do you get the picture? So Imran Khan, with a whole load of South African profiteers, plays cricket for Sussex County Cricket Club, and my wife keeps the score from them, and she trains in financial services all over the south of England, from the Duke of Bedford's patch to Baker Street, where she works for Miss Manningham Buller and Stella Rimington, yeah, in the MI5 networks. But she started through the simple thing that is Marks and Spencer's, who now sell us the Christian nativity cards. Do you get it? Okay, I can show you my email to them if you want, but that just tells the story of everything I know, because I want them to know that I'm coming after them. So the castle is huge. Let's show you how lovely their women are, and they are selling themselves, and I'm subletting them, yeah, through my new interests in online dating. It may be a bit slow. Oh, there's a lovely one for starters. Gatecrasher Katie Derham. Duke and his wife separate. Isn't she lovely? I may send another message later this afternoon, when I've looked into the fate of my pension fund and the disappearance of £60,000 since I began to defame our government as traitors to our country. Yeah, like those ones. And the Middletons interlock with the Norfolks. As you now know, like David Frost, who died last year, and everybody that steals, and he's the current Duke. Yeah, and he looks a little bit like that Scottish press man that presents the news and is looking ever so old now. That one is a wax model. Right then. So, some of the other some of them may be attached, and like the people that were involved in the story about the parentage of Winston Churchill, it may not matter too much whether they're attached. Yeah, these are ruthless bloodlines. Yeah, and these are their innocent behaviours in the four-poster. Which is why I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, because I'm going to explain to you the Reformation, and the beheading of all of these people is just to keep the world at war, and the profits flowing into the ever so clever people that have smiles like her, but are the Rothschild women. Yet the Rothschild women are suppressed. Yet all of the news about the Rothschilds is about the men in the family that run all wars. Yeah, except their mum, when she launched the 5 Arrows, and all of their statements about the ownership of the bank and the ownership of the money, yeah, and the ownership of the country and the government being displaced by the money owners. Yeah, all of that is a sad indictment about the role of women in life. Yeah, they're just birthing chambers. And I've explained to you the dangers of having children if you're a traitor to your country, which is why so many of them have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because they've got the right to do that, and they've got the poor people's wealth that means they can live it up as each of those children run through the dance of death that is the treasonous and evil behaviours of the treasonous families since Longshanks.
I don't know what Colin Cowdrey's like actually. Yeah, but the cricket fraud is massive. All of the sporting bimbos, yeah, take the attention of what they do, and he gets to play football as soon as I expose him as being prepared to kill in the helicopter in the Falkland Islands, where everybody was prepared to kill the innocent owners of the adjacent Argentinian armies. Yeah, all of it is a massive set of crimes. Okay, so let's have a look at a few of the women. Some of them are dowagers, and I might have to settle for them myself, because I have not got the wealth to attract them anymore, thanks to Aegon and Aegis Defence Systems Limited and all of the thieves that are the Rothschild slaves in Lothian Road in Edinburgh, where I used to go to the cinema and watch movies about these people being world heroes. Right then, it will not move on. Yeah, some of them are luscious blondes and they're wearing the brown colour. Oh yeah, they're lovely. Some of them are still attached to Fitzala and Howard, the friend of Thomas More. Do you remember the friendship of Thomas More that led to him losing his head? Yeah, and his wife, on our last meeting with her, when she came to the Tower to try and get him to compromise his beliefs and to give in to the murderous and syphilitic King Henry, he refused to do that, and she was holding in her hand, when she walked away and turned his back on him, one of those. Yeah, and it's all through the Lord of the Rings movie. It comes popping out of the fields of barley, which is the fields of gold joke, and the Barclays Bank in the Channel Islands, where they were going to live until I exposed them. And the Middletons are in that explicit bloodline story that I told you yesterday. Okay, so we could look at luscious looking women, yeah, who are looking for an inheritance, and the smiles on the men are much bigger. Yeah, because the beheadings are all in the female gender, and the Fallon story was part of the people that persecuted Queen Mary of Scots. Right then, so let me take you now to the tabs. I'm not really running an online dating agency, by the way. I want to free the world from this system, and I want democracy's funding back, as all of you now know. Even the people, you notice today that now that I've downloaded the emails, that there are no emails popping into my inbox. That is how pathetic our countries now are. I've got armies of intel, and Maddie, the Portuguese girl, this week is now in a suitcase, like the man, Gareth Williams, who is the Polish spy who lives in my hometown and has had a massive limp, in the street that is inhabited, yeah, by the vicar who has got the intensive care issues and gave his last sermon on Sunday, I believe. He's got horrible cancers. Yeah, he's been quite combative with me. He got me sacked in the pharmacy sector, and his son, who works for Lloyd's, was part of the scam that day. And I was sent to Peebles, where my advisor on my pension fund comes from, and that's the Tweedsmuirs. And I met the Tweedsmuirs outside the cop shop, and all of them now are ever so nervous, because they know I will not stop revealing these truths. Okay, and that's what's at stake. Vast tracts of it. Yeah, the Alnwick place is massive. There are castles like this all over Europe, and they are still owned by the ruthless bastards that run all of the wars, but are really, really in league, and they are absolutely obligated to follow the Rothschilds and the money lending institutions, yeah, because they will be killed if they stand in their way, like all of the martyrs and all of the beheadings that we've told you about. King Henry's women did not have a say in very much, which is why I'm so ashamed of my wife. and when you see the background that she comes from, it is totally understandable now. Watch the Valerie Jane Butlins videos and the videos about Butlins in Hemel Hempstead and Manpower in Hemel Hempstead and the asset stripping of the pharmaceutical industry and the asset stripping of our whole country by these massive frauds and the covering up of it using people like David Frost in the false news media. Yeah, it was quite spooky how we saw David Frost interviewing one of these fascist people, and the following morning it was announced on Fox News from Murdoch that he was dead. Yeah, right then. So, and the Horsham name, do you see it? It's got the word ham in it and it's got the hippo in it. I cannot see a racecourse on a map at that resolution, but they're all over the crime scene. Okay, right then. Where to now? So I think we've done enough on the current. I could show you the business register and the links to Max Hastings and the Balfours, which have already been declared, and their business deals get covered up by the marital issues that you've seen. So that's the squawk box concept that they cackle amongst themselves, and the cackle joke is what I posted on Facebook yesterday, because this is my letter to them at Arundel, and I want them to know that I'm coming after them with all of these ancient genocides on their conscience. And this will probably be covered by those people that were sending me the emails yesterday, because I posted it yesterday morning before I made the first video on these themes with the horrible beheadings. And it looks ever so sad when it happens to our people, yeah, when they're women at home. But when you condone it and you release new videos about it happening on beaches in the Med. This is my letter to Longshanks's mates, and I say with irony, often in the biblical sense, that's in the bedroom. Yeah, so you've seen the list of names, the famous women that are on it, and the power brokers that are the men since Longshanks. Okay, I'm a simple man like El Cid and Sid James, but I have been fascinated by your family's risk-taking entrepreneurial ventures since Longshanks visited Scotland and the Holy Lands in no particular world order. But I have guilt. I have just seen her ladyship's image, and I wonder if she has any wee sisters, ? I am an expert on afflictions. And that's Georgina Susanna Fitzallen Howard's business details that I've cited at the bottom, to let them know that I'm on to the scam and the frauds. Okay, so I'm an expert on afflictions that come back to haunt one, like Hannah Rosebery, who died at 40. Yeah, she's married to the Rosebery man that was the Prime Minister and led us into the Nile Valley and all the way to Khartoum. And I'm fascinated by Longshanks' family's palsied eyes, because they have a palsy. Yeah, and God has a huge sense of humour, and we shared this joke yesterday morning, because what the palsy is called, yeah, the palsy in the eye, and when you're a fascist it's always in the left eye. And the palsy is called a ptosis. Yeah, with the Piso word in it, like the polis with the Piso word in it and the Christian T. Yeah, God has a huge sense of humour, which is why they have very large families indeed, because they know the risks they're taking by making these massive jokes about the Father God, who they call Signore in the opera world. And it is vicious, the joke about Geppetto in Pinocchio, the son of the shoemaker joke. Yeah, they have nowhere to go. Did you know that the palsied eye in world history is called a ptosis? And if you look carefully, yeah, So Longshanks had a palsy in his eye. Yeah, he had a weakness. And God is aware of everything that happens in world history. And I have no idea what happens beyond the grave, but I don't have the time to speculate on such things. You okay? And it has the word Piso in it. I can get personal references from the former directors at Killing Kittens, where Commoner Kate worked, and the goat that is chained to the Duke of Northumberland's shooting lodge with the blackbirds flying out of the pie painted on the wall of their shooting lodge. Everything is a joke about the nursery rhymes you were told and the Piso and Rothschild's jokes that are the menageries of creatures that for them is a vicious laugh at the culling of the ancient people in the ancient conflicts that are driven by these people that can read and write. And that is laughed at by the French woman who is the son of Longshanks's missus, yeah, in that joke, and the people tell them that the really useful way in France that they use their tongue is in the vagina, and that is also the Piso joke. Okay, it is all sick, yeah, and for them, when they're the only people that can read and write, it is really, really funny. Not many people know this, but I used to deliver the milk to the Mowbrays, that's the links to the Dukes of Norfolk, in my hometown of Kelso. And I remember how the Pinto, which is the name of one of Christopher Columbus's ships, was afflicted by royal blue tits. Yeah, that's blue tits at the milk in the severe winter that we had when they killed John F. Kennedy. Yeah, you remember when the milk was delivered to your doorstep, and when the Milk Marketing Board had control of Britain's own milk markets. Now the milk comes from all around the world, so that if Prince Philip has his way and World War III is sparked in his absolutely savage lifetime, then the people who are the ordinary people who are in the armies, yeah, their relatives will starve to death because they have created the chaos that Hitler got riled up about in the Protocols of Zion. And that is the joke about the protocols of the Aryan races, yeah, putting down the protocols of the Jews that they killed in massive numbers, starting with the Warner Brothers hometown. Okay, so that's the Mowbrays, and I remember how the Pinto was afflicted by the royal blue tits right into the YMCA near Santa Monica's Boulevard. That predictably is the Burbank place where the Warners, the war criminal propagandists that were not executed like Hitler's Lord Haw-Haw, who was the head of the Conservative Party in Britain. Yeah, and he's right next door to one of the crime scenes. I will show you on the tabs if I get through this other story, okay? The sun's coming, pouring onto the screen, as you can see, because I know everything about how they've stolen the world. Okay, so Santa Monica Boulevard, where the Warner Brothers still stammer about Treblinka, even when they still stammered at Ibrox Empire frauds 1936. George VI made the speech about empire 2 years before he had to train to make a speech about World War II and his regrets, in inverted commas, about us entering that. If your wee sister is free, I can take her in my Peugeot, yeah, which is the name of the first man to be killed in World War I, to the cones for the volcanoes near Clermont-Ferrand, where World War I was started, and in parentheses, my romantic undertones will ring bells in the papacy in Avignon and the massive deals that you have done with the warmongers in Zimbabwe. My telephone number is 0157 322 9084, and my ears are always open Leica Puka and Lily Fitz-Allen's audience. All of the Allen's jokes and Lily Allen's jokes are about the religious and Rothschild frauds and their animals, yeah, and them being somewhere only we know. That is the hare with the amber eyes about the genocide. And thank you to the local people who are now beginning to whisper as a conscience that I understand the dark-eyed Molly joke and I understand the hares with the amber eyes. And I understand the surnames of almost everyone in my hometown, not being about loyalty to my hometown and my own country, but being loyal to the people that have held the world to ransom for all of its human history. It's the Mowbrays who we used to deliver the milk. I can't remember where they were and whether they tipped. I dare not dalliance with junior members of your female bloodline till my own divorce is over, but I have a cunning plan to pick up the merry wives of Guy Insus Care. That's Insus, which means Jesus. His name is Guy Innes Care, who are just Welsh tarts. That is the Wyn Williams. And when they launched them into popular culture, they pretended, and I've thought for years, that they were American superstars and super rich people. But the Wyn Williams are just the Welsh tarts that the Python team sing about from the window. And I have no doubt at all that that is the links to Barry Island and all of the people in the cover-up for the name of Gavin and Stacey being Shipman, the war correspondent for Iraq, who tried to release the truth about the killing of David Kelly, yet the weapons trader with Iraq on behalf of Mrs. Thatcher, and the killing of Robin Cook, who's in the recent videos we made as the Foreign Secretary. And all of the people that allow that are part of the University of Warwick. That's Tom of Warwick that I explained yesterday. And the rules are that if you do not read this script and cover up the war crimes that we have just committed, we will have you dead in the ditch like our former Foreign Secretary. And the police see to that, and they put Maddie in a suitcase like the spy who I know from Poland but lives in Forestfield in my hometown. And he used to be really nice and open, but they might have topped him now because he started to talk to me, and he's Polish. Like the ice cream man who had the ice cream van, the chip shop owner who's Polish and sits in the front row at the church, and his van caught fire as an accident recently. Okay, so I have a cunning plan to pick up the merry wives of Guy Insus Care, who are just Welsh tarts, unlike the Saxe Coburgs and Gotham Brady Street bunch. That's the Brady Street cemetery that the Rothschilds have in Cheapside, right next door to the Bank of England, and they are gifted both of those after, respectively, the Napoleonic conflicts that they funded every side in. And we kill the returning troops when they come home to Glasgow. That's the Walter Scott Foundation and the Peelers from London, the corrupted Metropolitan Police. 88 executed, with a crowd of 7,000 people watching them, in the same places that the stammering King George VI made the declaration about empire, and 2 years later he made the Warner Brothers movie about Windsors. Okay? When they get evicted beyond his death, so like King Henry, who, as you may know, was very indiscreet with Catholic women. That's King Henry. That's that story that I told you yesterday. And Henry is inscribed on some versions of the crucifixion story on the cross. And you know the links of that now to the Jew masses and all of the dime jokes and the cheap shot jokes that the Masons share, that this man is a fake, but we want to laugh at your understanding of that for every war that we run for the war bonds profits. Till then, I intend to binge on Candy Slush, which is where Mrs. Simpson and the abdicated king spent their time before her divorce was seen through. Yeah, that's her second marriage in America. She's already been shagging everybody all across Europe, but particularly in Italy, where the people who shag her are the sons of Mussolini. And they keep humming the Tannenbaum song about Christmas tree. That's the Queen Elizabeth II 2014 Christmas speech joke about the war dead having a truce for Christianity, which is the biggest fake and the biggest lie that the world ever told. P.S. Her Ladyship has a formidable pair of body doubles and they prance around like Commoner Kate used to do on the Totsi website that used to be about romantic Catholic women and their secret love nests in Napoli. Yeah, so that is the religious fraud being exposed, and they've now, so that nobody dare visit it, turned the Totsi website on the Piso family and its false doctrine and all of the lies in the Bible. It's now a porn site. Okay, I am a scientist and need to declare that I understand the risks of the blue blood syndrome and Lord Condon's inquest outcomes, and I want, that's Princess Diana's killing, and I want to whisper all these pillow talk secrets into Georgina, Susan, Fitzalan, Howard's wee sisters, royal Dutch shell-like ear, read more at their company details for the current Dukes and Duchesses of Norfolk. Registered address, the Duke of Norfolk's Estate Office, Arundel, West Sussex, BN 18 9AS. P.S. Both Pippa Middleton, yeah, and I can hyperlink these people, and I did, and Nigella Lawson are contenders for my troth, like the Empress at Blandings. Yet that is the output by the American traitor that is P.G. Woodhouse. And it's about rearing a pig with the word pie at the beginning, like all of the Oscars the Warner Brothers win for all of their warmongering and treasonous time in power near the California Calvary Hill joke in the Burbank region of California that is the Santa Monica Boulevard. Yeah, strength and honour for those Roman Catholic Popea Fund lovers and loyal regards, G. I have just realised that this letter may be ageist, yeah, because this is the one that's getting on a bit. Yeah, and her husband has just died, and I'm prepared to date even older Norfolks if they help me get the truth out about British Plantagenet history, which is the B room. The broom is the icon for the Plantagenets. Yeah, now the Norfolks and the Longshank relatives know that I understand all of their jokes, and I'm coming after them using Jedburgh Sheriff Court and the birthplace of the Warner Brothers in Krasno-Sielsk in Poland near Treblinka as the complicity issues that will spark massive conscience conflicts in every Jedburgh Sheriff who's been involved in the cover-up of this treasonous acts, every director at the Butlins organisation which shamefully covers up the treasonous acts of the massive war crimes profiteering at Nuremberg. And the broom was put right next to by Jackie O, the spy, who married into the wealthy trading pearls, trading diamonds bloodlines, yet trading oil through the Onassis Empire and then the Templesman Empire, yet they're double agents and they're spies. And that's my joke to Nigella Lawson, is I want your body corporate and the Naples of Venus recipe to be exposed. Might you get me in touch with HRH and the merry wives of Windsor? It is strictly platonic, but it is still a human tragedy. Guy Innes Kerr, 10th Duke of Roxburgh and Roxburgh Floors Castle staff, yeah, the people that work downstairs, that is now ever so civilised, but they keep covering up these secrets about how democracy is a fraud all over the world. And the Lothian Borders Police, those are hyperlinks, Those people got this message yesterday. They will not understand it, yeah, unless they've watched my videos. I want you to be aware I learnt my literary skills from Rupert Murdoch, who links to David Cameron through Chipping Norton. Shania Twain in the hyperlink, you are still the one for me, but one is not sure about being with you when I'm older. They may not let me live that long. P.S. Your Aran jersey and your leopard skin gear still keep you warm at night, and I want your heart and mind before you wake up with the horse's head and sleeping with the fishes. Then in block capitals, they will only stop when they are exposed as crimes against the world's people. And there's the director details for Georgina Susan Fitzalan, the Allah joke, yeah, about the Eastern Empire, which they are now demonising again. And Howard is the mate of the headless Sir Thomas More, who does not get his picture in the book about British history, because you would not want an innocent to have a voice anywhere, would you? Right then, so let's go back to my tabs. Yeah, I've wasted a lot of time there. Yeah, the sun's come out for some bizarre reason as I talk about my letter to Longshanks' surviving friends, who include the cricketers that are the captain of the English cricket team at the Lord's Cricket Ground. Right then, so this is a tab that I've created on my OneNote files, which are really exhaustive and explain the whole of the ownership of the world. And this one's entitled Reformation and Schism, and it is tragedy. Yeah, I've got page after page after page on how the creation of Christianity led to the creation of all of the denominations that we now have, and all of them are trading Christianity in the Philippines, which is why the Philippines was hit so hard this year. Yeah, and my mate from Hawick that worships at the Jehovah's, and his daughter, one of his daughters, is a dead ringer for the woman that was executed on the post in the Braveheart film. I don't know whether or not the body doubles are planted into the borders, or God has just done that as a means for me to identify the big issues that I need to expose so that the world can be free. Because Tony Blair just looks like the villain in the El Cid movie. Yeah, you must have noticed that. Field McConnell looks like the man that brutalised the Latin American countries and was involved in the Iranian scandals, but I keep forgetting his name. Yeah, an airman like Field McConnell. Yeah, and he's Abel Danger, and I have no doubt at all that they are a false news plant to trivialise all of the stuff. The other person who interlocks through some of those families that were in that family tree is Soames, yeah, Winston Churchill's relative. Even Abel Danger hit on him because he's a has-been. He's not one of the current power brokers. Yeah, that's the fat Churchills that led the Inquisitions and all of the mercenary armies across Orange Europe, and the Lutheran movement, and all of it was fought upon vast fields of conflict, and all of the wars ever since have been in the name of the Christian nations, and the motto, love your neighbour, is totally discarded. Okay, so, and we've got the Inquisitions is led by people from Bremen, yeah, and Amiens, which is the place that I made the video on, and that is the road to ruin joke for them. Yeah, and the conversion of the Scandinavians comes into the story, and we're still only in the time when the French were establishing the clerical world that King Henry took from them, yeah, or the land rights and the feudal tax systems, yeah, and the armies that were from those abbeys that were warlords, so that Christianity could be imposed using the Christian cross at the bottom of the sword joke. Okay, so there's a whole host of them, and here are I found some of it particularly sickening, because you've got stories about women like this, and she becomes a martyr too. I will not show you all of the tabs because they're relatively trivial, but I want you to know that the schisms are not accidents. It is to continually keep the world in fear, yeah, and never to let anybody live in peace for any length of time. My generation and Prime Minister Cameron's generation are the only people that have never lived lifelong without fear of conscription. Yeah, that is an amazing achievement, that we have transitioned into that, but that our democracy is now only existing to cover up the crimes of our history. It is tragic. Yet none of them make constructive policies. All of them are sideshows for this tragic historical tale that I am telling. And the Mata Hari was a Frisian exotic dancer and courtesan who was convicted of being a spy and executed by firing squad in France under charges of espionage for Germany during World War I. She had periods of time in the empire upon which the sun is about to set really soon. Yeah, she's a Macleo, and she's a Margarita Gertrude. Yeah, the Germanic links are massive, and the Frisian area is the Baltic coast where Bremerhaven is, and that is the joke about the Austrian Navy and Das Boot that everyone who's in my family and has deserted me thinks is really funny. That's my wife who laughs at the Macleos of Skye. That's the ship-sinking dynasty that run Lloyd's of London. Okay? And this woman eventually was executed. What happened to Marlene Dietrich after we'd had World War II was that she was brought into American Hollywood fame by the Warner Brothers, and she became a hero over there by making cowboy movies about the killing of the 500 nations. And that gets her off the hook about the killing of the 40 to 50 million people in World War II. And it's an ever such a foreign religion name, Mata Hari, isn't it? There might be a picture of her dancing around. Yeah, because all of it is about getting your tits out. That's a 1906 postcard in the lead up to World War I. Okay? All of the same techniques that Richard Harris used in the Hunchback movie and were explained to you in every one of my patient videos. So she is born Dutch, Margarita Gertrude Zell, Leeuwarden, Netherlands. Died in Paris, yeah, with the silk stockings and all of her accoutrements that she does not need from the waist up, yeah. And all of it, she is killed as a major diversion for the power brokers that live in places like Arundel. And none of the women, which is why I would love to talk to my wife, yeah, before either of us ends up in the grave, about her role in life, yeah, in an open-ended way, yeah, with all of the conscience issues revealed and all of the decision-making explained. That will not be allowed to happen, because if she engages in that, they will just take her out. Yeah, it is just tragic, and the whole of the people that were trying to bleep me yesterday are no longer trying to bleep me. Have you noticed that? Yeah, my email site's open. No one, since I downloaded the video, is trying to bleep me. Right then, so I wish I could find the Mara. I'm not got it there. Maybe further down the page. I'm wasting a lot of time, haven't I? But you can see that the role of women, Mrs. Thatcher is still the greatest, and all they get is the blame. And sometimes you get a bullet from a firing squad for just doing what you're told in the intel sector, if she was indeed in it. And her Bits of her body are in the Paris Museum. It's really tragic. There she is, Mata Hari in 1906, wearing only bra and jewellery. The bit about the body parts is really sick. She's now beginning to get late on in life, like Marlene Dietrich, yeah, who had the affair with the professor in all the filmography, all of it run by the Warners. Yeah, so she's now, as we get through World War I, yeah, she's now becoming bohemian, promiscuous, and there she was arrested and brought to London, where she was interrogated at length by Sir Basil Thomson, the link to the Rule Britannia joke, okay, and the Basil joke, and all of it is wrapped into the Polis joke about the Pisos and the Savoy hotels and all the stories. Eleanor Braun in the Independent talking about this in 1980, yeah, when we're having our bank crashed by Norman Lamont, yeah, and all of the people that have a laugh at that in the Brighton region. Okay, there's the Mata Hari at her arrest, looking a little bit sinister, with the suitcase that might have the child Maddie's body in it this week in the false news. Right then, let us see if we can find her when she was prancing around, because this is, when I saw the name I thought, oh, I've heard of her, but I cannot see the tab for her on the internet. Look it up for yourself. No. Right then, so let me show you the schism concept and how many descriptors there are for it. I haven't got the time. So every scandal in the history of Christianity gets a nice name, and these are the history of fights between Christian nations or Christian popes and Christian kings through all of the history of the movement, and all of it is the biggest cause of death of any factor in world history. Okay, so you've got the anti-popes crisis, Arianism, where the authors of the Bible begin to talk as if they are the people that believe that Jesus is only a man. It's ever so clever to change the story, and that is the double agent that means that all innocents at Nuremberg get executed, and all of the guilty people get to bring their body doubles into the trial dock, yet on trial and prepared to die because of the mind control techniques that they now use. And that's laughed at in the Indiana Jones film, when the heroines do not recognise, or Indiana Jones does not recognise the heroine that is about to be put in the burning pit. It's all the same joke right through the story, yeah, and right back into the biblical events, which are total frauds. Which is why I find the joke about the palsied eye, and what was the name of that? Yeah, the ptosis. Yeah, all of it has the word Piso in it, or the word Arian in it. Okay, so that you've got the Eastern Orthodox Independent Churches crisis. That is the Eastern Orthodox that was released east, west and centre by the Holy Roman Empire, yeah, into Constantinople by Emperor Constantine, and it suddenly becomes a menace, like Protestantism or Catholicism, or yeah, in Berkhamsted they had Baptists. Yeah, Eastern Orthodox non-canonical church bodies, East-West schism. So the Eastern religions, Christianity, are fighting against the Western religions, and the Germans are caught in the middle with massive castles, yeah, and rights of access to the four-poster beds all over Europe. And the Rothschilds quietly sneak in with their book under their arm, and they plan all of the breeding chambers, which makes it a scandal, and then launches the syphilis into King Henry's court, into George III's court, and into Victoria's love life with the Rothschilds. Protestant Reformation, Society of St. Pius. Yeah, so 3 of the 6 massive massacres have had the word pie in it already. The Western Schism, Acacian Schism, Affirmation of San Louis, the non-existent saints, Alugai, anti-pope for the 2nd time, Beglo Popovotsky, that looks like the Poposokolou joke at the Sydney Street siege, when Winston Churchill released Stalin to take over the Russian warmongering nation and the efforts, and all of them are trained in the same places. Bohemian Reformation, so that is the papacy in the Bohemian Rhapsody song that must be the most innocent part of this whole video, because they were immune from the plague in Czechoslovakia. Okay? That is the Avignon bells that I wrote to Longshanks's friends about, because that is the other papacy apart from Rome itself. Do you see it? You've got east, west and centre, and this is the good one, east. Yeah, the Constantinople menace has now become a menace because that is the Turks who get paid to fight against their friends in the elites. Yeah, and that is the massive massacres that see the German royals who were fighting against in the Crimean War and at Gallipoli sitting on the deck chairs on the Caradoc, the British warship, and they live their lives in London and they sell the palaces to the Windsors, and the whole thing is a stitch up. Council of Chalkidon, yeah, the chalky whiteboard jokes again, way back. And I've told you about all of the pop music festivals. I forget where the first pilgrimage from the Holy Lands was, to the place where they have the pop festival at Glastonbury. Okay, and you've got people who argue the toss about circumcision and the controversial treatment, because remember that Jesus was a Jew. Yeah, and it's all the same stories. The Egyptian myths get tied in, all of the stories about Amuhemnat and the stories about the reading and writing, and Amen is about the Egyptian pharaoh. Council of Ariminum, 4th Council of Constantinople, that's the 4th one now. Yeah, that's the launch by Constantine of the Church of Rome into the Eastern abbeys and cathedrals, and right next door the same Piso family launch the Islamic menace using the craze and the creches and the jokes that we shared about Tel Aviv yesterday. County of Seleucia, that's the Seleucid jokes about the beheading of people and the pillow talk and the Jewish women being prepared to work as spies for all of their time. That's why I'm so ashamed of my wife. Yeah, her whole life is a lie. Her whole family's life is a lie about asset stripping our countries. And then you get the Crotty schism, also part of the Mackay jokes and the prison jokes. One of the characters was Crotty, and I saw him on a Cumbrian railway station when I was travelling up the west coastline that is Richard Branson's scam out of the tax havens. Disruption of 1843, Donatism, yeah, the charitable element. Give us your cash, we will take your children's life in a German green or a royal blue uniform. Diophysite, East-West schism, Council of Ephesus, First Succession. This is the Love Your Neighbour movement. Institute de Maria Rosi Mystica Sacerdotes Charismaticus Missionaries. That does not have the word Piso in it, even with all of those letters. Yeah, and that could be the Jesuit movement, because they are fakes too. Jansenism, and that is the current Pope, who's a Jesuit and a genocidal boss. Jansenism, yeah, my friend in America who's lost access to both of her daughters. I'm prepared to make interviews with her to get her daughters back, to reveal all of the scandals of all 13 of the American central banks that include her home place, that is Minnesota, where all of the people that come from Eastern Europe, yeah, are actually from Vietnam, because they are the Hmong people that deserted their country as double agents. And that is the Home Alone joke for the Brett family that are pictured in these pictures of my family's innocent upbringing, even on the Piso rocking horse, which has been stolen by my auntie, who's the profiteer in the Church of Scotland in the sub-Saharan Africa frauds, married into the Kemp financial dynasty and living near the end of the fault line at Oban, where the falls of Lorne are. Yeah, and all of my life in innocence, all of the parents of all of those children in that photo are financial criminals in the Rothschilds empire. Yeah, and only their children have the courage to communicate with me, since I discovered that Heather Pritchard is linked into the UK PLC scams, and that takes you into Princess Anne's frauds. She wants gas. Yeah, okay, so all of it, all of the Hertfordshire people are involved in the massive selling of our world. And I've got the vicar's director numbers at that church where we were married in the Christianity fraud. Right then, so Jansenism, Judaizers, lapsy Christianity, Lollardy, yeah, I think that could be being work shy, yeah, Marcionism, yeah, that the launch of all the Marcy jokes, and malicious of Antioch, yeah, Antioch's the controversial place where the fraud was launched from by the non-existent St. Paul, who was struck blind. Yeah, and all of it, the Messiah is able to cure the blind. And there we've got malicious of Lycopolis with the word Piso and the word police wrapped into it as a damning indictment that all of this is just a means to kill and enslave the civilized, law-abiding people who become our armies. Monoenergism, monophysitism, Nazarene sect. Yeah, they've got the same icon in the Nazarene sect as the Iron Cross and the Knights of Malta have. Yeah, the Nestoria, Nesta is my mother-in-law's name. I'm not allowed to talk to her yet. I'm not allowed to talk to her at all. I spent a fortune visiting her home. Yeah, they are a sad set of people, and their in-laws are the Salters, and that is the joke about Christianity and the Scottish fucking flag that they are so proud of, including Alistair Hutton in the Sell Your Nation to the Las Vegas military tattoo scam, and he leads the British Legion way down in the subordinate tree below the Duke of Westminster. And that takes you into Imran Khan's love life and his links to the goldsmiths, non-during schism, non-trinitarianism, Novatinianism, papal election 1130, massive scandals, massive wars, massive changes in the rules of morality, and all of them involve the beheading of all of these people. Yeah, because all of them, yeah, who have lived their lives in crime and corruption, get killed by the king near the end, so that the story cannot live on. Yeah, and that's why the Chancellor is now the financial boss at the Parliament building. And they had a Parliament building at the time when all of the executions were taking place. Papal election 1159, Photian schism, primitive Baptists. There were 400 of those in Berkhamsted, where Jeff Chaucer was the clerk of works at the castle. And President de Gaulle lived out his life peacefully in World War II, yeah, so that he could be resurrected in the inquests beyond that, and he could be a puppet for Jacques Foccart in all of the profiteering in French colonial Africa. I'm totally ashamed of the Christians in my family, yeah. They are absolute profiteers, and they are absolute traitors to me, and they support my English wife in everything that she does. Protestant Reformation, and you should see what happened to their daughter. The pain that she goes through in childbirth is amazing. God has a huge sense of humour. Quartodecimism, Raskol, Schism of 1552, Schism of the Three Chapters, yeah, and even the Greys that may be related to Lady Jane Grey, the Protestant connection. Their father is from Yorkshire. Yeah, Badger Bill, and all of the stories I'm telling you about now, they're all linked in, and that's the man Grey who, like my wife, was concerned about my mental health. He now has horrible diabetes, and every one of them gets what they deserve in the end. And he gets to fish the Tweed, yeah, on the Miller's beat. The Miller also wants the numbers down, and that's the dad of the current owners, who are from Alnwick. Yeah, are you seeing the magnitude of the interlocking globalist crimes and genocides? And that man from Alnwick, that is the Miller father, the current owners of the junction, he's prepared to say that he wants the ordinary people to be culled. Yeah, and the ordinary people are the colleagues that I worked with that were the dads of the McElrath dynasty, and the Wraith name is in the Lord of the Rings, and the Wraiths from Cambridge live 3 doors along. The dad is in the ITU. They go to the church every Sunday. Their whole lives is a lie. 3-chapter controversy, 2 seed in the spirit predestined Arian Baptists, religious schisms, history of Christianity. Yeah, so that's one tab. And you've got Wiki Reformation. It's tragic. Yeah, this is the story that takes me into the Eccles joke in the Goon Show. One just happened to notice that the death of Sir Thomas More is likely to be out the moralist stance he took on taking the church out of the hands of the popes, with all of the land the popes possessed, and giving it to the kings, which is why the Germans are so prominent in the Reformation. Do you get the picture? The Germans become the kings, and they want everything back that they had before the Church of Rome was launched by the Benedictine movement and the other clerical movements. All of the abbeys are flattened by King Henry in Scotland because they're not in his jurisdiction. They're French. Like the Cluny Abbey that becomes the joke about the Saltire, because the Cross Keys is the icon for the Cluny Abbey near Clermont-Ferrand with the massive dormant volcanoes. But since the Pisos left Naples in the religious caravan of death, the writers and theologians have perpetually demonized all of the gods and driven the world to bloody Christian division, right into the Jehovah movement and Marcia Blaine. Yeah, the Marcian scandal. Do you get it? That's the Jean Brodie joke. Yeah, the Freemasons in Selkirk, that's creme de la creme Telfer, that swears on the internet since I exposed him as being one of the world's leading rugby Freemasons, and he was an amateur allegedly, but he gets to go to all of the global tournaments with them as a hanger-on now. And the last time I saw him, he was limping really badly, and when I saw him with my disloyal wife, at the place right next door to David Murray's donkey field, there was a massive maelstrom of rain. Okay? So the Blaine school doctrine, Marcia Blaine, all of it is a set of fascist jokes. My mum-in-law is Nesta, and that's the Nestorian joke that I've just shown you about the divide between Christian nations and their massive divides between their armies that the ordinary people that fight in their armies do not understand in the least. Every schism, but I have not found the word Covenanters in any of the massive lists yet. Scotland has its own little massacres. Yeah, and the Duke of Roxburgh is alleged to have stepped back from that to let the fighting and the slaughter go on all around him. I don't know whether or not that's true. No one can know ever whether anything in world history is true. But the sun is still shining on the Duke of Roxburgh's castle, and you should have seen it at Merton and St Boswell's last night. We had massive rainstorms last night, okay, and all of it is about the videos I made. When I went for a walk, I played the video I made on my wife, and everywhere she has worked, being involved in money laundering, massive intel scams, and the murder of people that is condoned by MI6, MI5, and the policing of my career all around the world by MI5, MI6, and people called CARE, right into the Plexus organisation and the Boots organisation, which is now owned by Ponzi schemes out of Italy. Okay, Eccles in the Goons is ecclesiastics, and that is the joke, and he is virtually incomprehensible. Do you get that now? You may be too old to remember the Goons. I do not want to show you that because it will waste even more time. Okay, and what you've got in the reformist movement is a whole series of names that get the whole of the Christian world divided again. Waldensians, Avignon papacy. There were 3 popes. That is the great schism. 3 popes across the world. Yeah, that they have totally defrauded with the story about a non-existent Messiah that is the cause of almost all of the wars, yeah, with the Jewish roots, and Jesus was a Jew. And they fight about whether or not circumcision is justified, and all of the kosher butchery rules are just a money stream for the world owners, and none of the ordinary worshippers see that. But when you watch the confession and you see the people that are strangers in the church, all of them, when the sermon is given, touch wood. Yeah, the secret is much more open than I thought it was. And the intel thing is just tragic. It cannot be described. Yeah, it is just amazing that all of the people take the pledge as spies, yeah, right into the GPO. Yeah, and all the people that sell the GPO 2 or 3 times over are the corrupted politicians who run the Department of Trade and Industry and run for a persecution of their own children, the student loan scam. Hussite wars, Northern Renaissance, German mysticism, start of the Reformation, 95 Theses, German Peasants' War, Schmalklied. Yeah, have you heard Rabsi Nisbet say that? Schmalkdick Lied, Magisterial, Magistrum, yeah, the Freemasons selling the laws of succession, yeah, as they are panicked by people like me revealing their illegitimacy, yeah, all of that out of St James's Palace. Radicals, Counter-Reformation, Reformers, or it may not be St James's Palace, Kensington Palace, ever so posh on the Monopoly board. Yeah, like Park Lane in Hemel Hempstead, for the traitors like my wife and the Harris family that cover the war crimes. Yeah, and they think it's really funny to laugh at the jokes about the spies actually being religious conscripts and the authors and translators of the Christian Bible. That's the Barkers, and it is the Maxwells. Luther, Melanchthon, Munzer, Zwingli, Simons, Butcher, Olaus, Laurentius, Petri, Malcolm, Berquin, Calvin, Karlstadt, Notz, Trubar, Arminius, all of them have an opinion that leads to the slaughter of millions and millions of people. And the rule